I don't believe that there is a single sex worker out there that loves their job. I also don't believe that there is a single sex worker out there that had dreams of this being their job as they were growing up. Sometimes in life, we make bad decisions and we find ourselves in situations that we don't know how to get out of. In case you didn't know, the main reason that a woman becomes a sex worker is usually for one of two reasons. Either they are addicted to some sort of drug, or it's because they need to feed their children. Melissa Ramirez, Claudine Luera, Giselda Cantu, and Janelle Ortiz all knew the chances that they were taking every single night. But I don't believe that they thought for 1 second that they would have to fear a Border Patrol agent, a person assigned to protect them, a person assigned to keep them safe. Border Patrol agent Robert Ortiz befriended these women, picked up these women, and even brought them to buy drugs. But there was a much darker side to Ortiz that these innocent victims would come face to face with in September of 2018 when the Border Patrol agent decided to go on multi-day spree. Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so because it really helps me out and I really appreciate it. So, San Bernardino, Texas is known for its mom and pop shops and its jalapeno festival. It is one of the biggest border towns in the United States, and because of this, it is very heavily guarded by Border Patrol. People of Laredo, Texas are described as humble, warm, and welcoming. And because of the heavy Border Patrol presence, most people feel quite safe in Laredo. San Bernardino Avenue is a heavy use area that is also known as the red light district. 26-year-old Melissa Ramirez was a sex worker on San Bernardino Avenue, and she would typically work 2 to 3 nights a week. She was described as someone that everybody loved to be around. She was always singing and dancing and was said to be a beautiful human being. Melissa had been on the streets for many years, using the money that she made from sex work to feed her addiction to drugs. Her family would later say that Melissa was a very private person, and because of this, they were unaware that she was involved in this type of work. September 3rd, 2018, Melissa would be found on the side of a road by a rancher. She had been in the head several times at close range, and she apparently had been out there for several hours. When police were assessing the scene, they found 40 caliber shell casings by her body. Melissa's family would lead police to a man that was involved with Melissa, but the man told police that he last saw her 2 to 3 days before her death. He says that he picked her up on San Bernardino Avenue and later dropped her off at the Pan American Hotel, and that was the last time that he saw her. The man was very cooperative. He handed over his phone to police and was later cleared of any involvement. 10 days after this, on September 13th, 2018, the body of 42-year-old Claudine Luera would be found by a truck driver in a ditch about a mile up the road from where Melissa was found. Oddly enough, Melissa and Claudine were friends and they would look out for each other. The driver originally thought that Claudine had been hit by a car until he took a closer look and he saw that she had been several times in the back of the head. She was still clinging to life when she was found, but by the time she arrived at the hospital, she was pretty much gone. Detectives that worked that scene said that when they saw her, she was alert, but she could not tell them who did it. The only thing she focused on was how much pain she was in. Claudine was a mother of 5. She loved her family, and her family loved her. She was described as perfect, beautiful, funny, the best cook ever, very thoughtful, very loving, and she would always tell her children how much she loved them. Came from a very well-rounded family, and she did not grow up with much at all. And because of this, she wanted to give her kids all the things that she didn't have as a child. But because she couldn't really provide that for them, she resorted to the streets. That's not to say that Claudine didn't have her vices, because she absolutely did. She had a very bad addiction to heroin, and she would go to San Bernardino Avenue to get her fix. September 14th, 2018, 26-year-old sex worker Erica Pena gets picked up by a man on San Bernardino Avenue and taken back to his home. She knew the client as David and says that after they arrived at the house, he began talking to her about Melissa. He tells Erica that he's scared that police will believe he is guilty of killing her because his DNA is going to be found with her. Erica begins to become incredibly uncomfortable during this conversation, as you can imagine, right? So she tells David that she needs to go outside to get something from his truck. While she's outside, she would end up vomiting. She told David it was because she hadn't eaten anything all day, but the truth of the matter was that she got sick because she realized in that moment that David was most likely the person that had been killing these girls. David suggests that they go to a gas station to get something to eat. When they pull into the gas station, David parks the truck away from cameras. That's when he pulls out and points it at Erica's face. Somehow, Erica's able to get away, but she would testify that she wasn't even sure how she got away because it all happened so fast, but that she had lost her shirt in the process. So now a shirtless Erica goes running through the gas station looking for help when she thankfully came across a trooper that happened to be there pumping gas. By the time she located the officer, David was gone. She tells the trooper what had just happened, and he puts Erica in his car and he takes her down to the station so she can tell her story in an interview room. She tells the officer that David was a supervisor with the Border Patrol and that he had been a client of hers for about 5 months. She told him that he picked her up, took her to a drug house that she frequented, gave her money, and waited outside for her while she went in to get her fix. After she was done, she got back in his car. He took her to his house, and they were supposed to engage in sexual activity, but they actually did not end up doing it that night. After Erica was done telling police her whole story, she got into the car with them and showed them where David lived. So, police get a search warrant and they enter the home, which was empty. Once they're inside the home, they find multiple guns that were ready to be used if needed. A records check determines that the home belongs to 39-year-old Juan David Ortiz. Okay, let's talk about Juan. Juan had been married for 14 years. He and his wife met in high school, married, and went on to live a fairly comfortable life in a beautiful home while raising their 3 beautiful children. So police begin to look for him. A trooper sees the vehicle at around 1 o'clock in the morning, about 7 miles away from the home. Ortiz decides to take off on foot, and the trooper ends up losing him. They would later locate him at a hotel. After backup arrives, they swarm the hotel looking for him, and they find him hiding face up in the bed of a truck. They arrest him without incident, and he's taken in for questioning. During questioning, officers describe him as very arrogant. He refused to cooperate in the beginning of the interview. Even getting his name out of him was a struggle. Later into the interview, he tells police that he is on pills, and when he drinks on the pills, he blacks out. When police ask him about Erica Pena, he denies knowing who Erica is, while unaware that Erica had already spoken to police. If I had to go out on a limb, I would say that he probably assumed that because Erica was a sex worker and because she had a really bad addiction to heroin, that he assumed that she would never go to police. If that's true, he assumed wrong. The bullet casings that were found at both the crime scenes matched his service weapon. And when police searched his truck, they found 2 pocketbooks in the back seat, one of them that belonged to Erica. They then begin to show him pictures of Melissa and Claudine, and it's at that point that Ortiz decides to finally start talking. And what a story he tells. He talks about how he used to patrol the streets, and that's how he got to know the drug houses and the sex workers. When he talks about Melissa, he says that the 2 of them were friends. He picked her up the night of September 3rd, 2018, and she was high. At some point, she fell asleep in the car, and Ortiz drove around trying to figure out how to get her out of his car. So he says that he decided that killing her would be the best way to get her out of his car. I can't make this shit up. I cannot make this shit up. That's awful. Next, he talks about Claudine. He says that Claudine realized that he was the one that killed her friend, and that's why he had to take her out. He says that Claudine knew that she was going to die when she jumped out of that truck. She said to him, "You're the one that killed my friend." And she jumped out of the car, and she basically knew as she was trying to run away that she was a goner. That's how he described it. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he says. He also admits to police that everything Erica said is the truth. So at this point, they have the confessions that they want, but they decide to ask him, which I think all detectives ask, if there's anything else that he wants to tell them. That's when he drops another 2 bombs on them. Bombs that nobody saw coming. He tells them, "You haven't found this one." And by that, he's referring to 28-year-old Janelle Ortiz. Janelle was transgender and a regular on San Bernardino Avenue when Ortiz began his spree. Janelle was described as very friendly, outgoing, and funny. Okay, so if you thought this story couldn't get any more fucked up than it already is, you would be wrong. After Ortiz tells officers about Janelle, they all jump up and they run to go find her. They would end up finding her along the same road that they found the other 2. So The timeline for the night of September 14th goes as follows. Everything happens with Erica. Erica jumps out of the car. Juan takes off. He goes to his house and he takes out all of his guns because at first he was ready for a standoff with police, and if he was going to go down, he was going to go down with a fight. But he decides that's why police, when they entered the home, that's why they saw all the guns out everywhere. For some reason, he decides to abort that mission and go back to the streets. He goes to a gas station where he buys some Bud Light. He walks out, he drives away, and he goes back down to San Bernardo Avenue. That's where he picks up 28-year-old Janelle Ortiz. He takes her over to some gravel pits and he kills her. But it doesn't stop there, my friends. Oh, no. It does not stop there. After he kills Janelle, he returns back to San Bernardo Avenue. Mind you, this whole time, Erica's telling her story, and they know who they're looking for, and they're looking for him. He's back on San Bernardo Avenue, and he picks up 35-year-old Giselda Cantu, who is also a sex worker. And even though her story would tragically end the same as the others, Giselda's story plays out a little differently. He takes her to the typical spot, and they park underneath an underpass. He tells her to get out and to walk away from Laredo. Giselda asks him why he's just letting her go, and he tells her that he wants her to relay a message for him. He tells her that he is the person that has been killing all the girls from San Bernardo Avenue, and he wants her to be the one that tells everybody. So initially, Giselda steps away from the truck and she begins to walk away. For reasons unknown, she decides to turn around and come back. She starts telling him that he needs God and that God will forgive him for everything that he has done. Ortiz tells her to walk away, but she doesn't. She doesn't walk away. She keeps talking to him about God, and I think that's making him go crazy. And he ends up killing her. During the police interrogation, Juan Ortiz would also tell detectives that he was one of the officers assigned to find the person responsible for the deaths of these girls. In other words, the killer was working his own case. Does it get any more fucked up than this? Does it really get any more fucked up than this story? Just as the trial is about to start, Ortiz's defense secures a change in venue, and they have the trial moved from Laredo, Texas to San Antonio, Texas, about 150 miles north. Then the pandemic hits and it delays the trial again. Delays the trial until November 28th, 2022. Ortiz's defense was that he was on many medications, and when he would drink on them, he would have blackouts. Oddly enough, this was one of the scenarios given to him during the interrogation as a means to get him to confess. We've seen this 100 times. Remember Chris Watts' first story? He walked in, he saw Shanann killing Cece and Bella, and that's when he snapped and he killed her. Okay. This story was given to him by a detective as a means to get him to confess to something. December 7th, 2022, Juan David Ortiz was found guilty. The charge of capital murder in Texas comes with an automatic life sentence, but it can also come with a death penalty. Then, in this shocking twist of events, it's the brother of Zelda Cantu that asked the courts to spare Ortiz's life. See, Zelda's brother Joey had also gone to prison for murder. He did his time and he was later forgiven by his victim's family. He gives this very powerful victim impact statement at the trial. And in the end, the state and the other families agreed to give Ortiz life in prison with no chance of parole because of Joey. Guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet. You feel so inclined to, because it really helps me out and I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe out there.